Thank you for watching Darker Things, the series that brings you deep dives into history's most disturbing events, personalities, true crime, conspiracy theories.
Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
39 to beam up.
In the dark corners of human history, chilling tale unfolds. The story of Marshal Applewhite and the Heaven Gates cult. In the early 70s, an unlikely duo would birth an ideology that would cast a long, dark shadow over the decades to come. This is the beginning of the story of Marshal Applewhite, also known as Doe, an eloquent, charismatic figure, and his partner Bonnie Nettles, known to their followers as T. Their paths crossed in a peculiar fashion in a Texas hospital in 1972. And from there, the seeds of the Heaven's Gate cult began to sprout. Applewhite, a former music teacher and choir director, had a magnetic personality. His ability to capture an audience was undeniable, a trait that would later become a key tool in his arsenal. Alongside him, Nettles, a registered nurse with a strong interest in theosophy, biblical prophecy, provided the spiritual backbone to the burgeoning movement. Now, their beliefs were strange through a mixture of Christian doomsday prophecy, science fiction, and New Age philosophy. They preached about the corruption of the human world and the chance for a new beginning, a higher evolutionary level above human in the extraterrestrial realm. They claimed to be the two mentioned in the book of Revelations, sent to guide the chosen ones to salvation. As their teachings spread, their followers grew. Many were drawn to the promise of a new beginning, a fresh start, away from the perceived corruption of the world. They willingly surrendered their lives, their identities, to become part of something they believed was bigger, better, and beyond human comprehension. Now, this was the context of Heaven's Gate, an environment that fostered intense belief and dedication, where the line between a charismatic leader and a manipulative puppeteer began to blur. From this fertile ground, a narrative grew, narrative that would lead to a tragic end, forever etching the name of Marshal Applewhite and the Heaven's Gate cult into the annals of human history. Thus, the stage was set for a narrative that would shock the world. White and T developed a tapestry of belief that intertwined strands of Christianity, science fiction, and the UFO phenomenon. The narrative was a heady cocktail of the familiar and the bizarre, creating a potent mix that was difficult for their followers to resist. They took the Christian concept of salvation and twisted it, spinning a tale of imminent apocalypse, only survivable by hitching a ride on a cosmic chariot. The human body, they preached, was merely a temporary shell, a sleep, a vessel that needed to be shed to reach a higher plane of existence. This plane, they claimed, was an extraterrestrial paradise, a nirvana among the stars that was both a physical and spiritual destination. They borrowed heavily from the UFO phenomenon, using it to lend an air of mystery and intrigue to their teaching. To their followers, they painted a picture of a cosmic journey, a voyage across the stars on a spaceship. The spaceship, they said, was coming to Earth to collect those worthy of salvation. Now, it was a narrative that had all the allure of a science fiction novel, but with the added weight of religious belief. But it wasn't just about the destination. The journey itself, they preached, was of utmost importance. They spoke of ascension, of leaving behind an early desires and attachments to become pure beings of spirit. It was a process of transformation, they claimed. They required complete surrender to their teaching. The doctrine was strained through of elements from different sources. It was a narrative that was on the surface utterly bizarre, yet it was presented with such conviction and charisma that it managed to draw a number of followers. Now, these followers, seeking answers and purpose, found in Applewhite and T's teaching. compelling narrative that offered both. Their doctrine, while bizarre to many, found a willing audience in their followers. It was an audience ready to believe, ready to follow, and ultimately ready to sacrifice everything for the promise of celestial paradigm. Applewhite's psychological prowess came to the fore as he began to erase the identities of his followers. Some believe he may have been motivated to do this after the passing away of his partner, T. Now, as he wove a web of control, isolation became a key tool. Applewhite and his partner T had effectively cut off followers from the outside world. Family, friends, and the familiar were replaced by the cult's rigid structure and beliefs. Now, this isolation wasn't just physical. Emotional bonds were severed. The past was painted as a thing to be shunned. Renaming was another tactic. Its used to erase old identity. Followers were given new names, often ending in "odi," signifying their transition to a new body and life. A simple act of renaming, a powerful enough tool in breaking the ties of the past and forging an identity tethered to the cult. Applewhite also boasts a gender neutrality, an eerie uniformity that further stripped away individuality. Men and women were made to look alike, their gender identities blurred. This was not a progressive step towards equality, but a calculated move to erase personal identities and to create an undifferentiated mass of followers. Well, once again, it's believed that this might have been prompted because he was no longer able to be intimate with his deceased partner, and therefore placed all these rules and confines on his followers. But perhaps the most potent weapon in Applewhite's arsenal was groupthink. Power of conformity, the fear of dissent. These are time-tested tools of manipulation. In the closed world of Heaven's Gate, different opinions were not just discovered, they were unthinkable. Questioning the doctrine meant questioning one's place in the group and the promised journey to the next level. The power of groupthink is formidable. It can make the irrational seem rational, the bizarre seem normal, and the dangerous seem safe. It can make you believe that you are not losing your identity, but finding a better one. This, Applewhite's followers were transformed into obedient disciples, ready for the journey to the next level. In 1997, the Hale-Bopp comet streaked across the sky, and for Applewhite, it was a sign. The spaceship was waiting. The final act of this macabre tale unfurled against the backdrop of the celestial event. A sign from the cosmos, or so Applewhite believed, that it was time for them to shed their mortal coil and ascend the next plane of existence. Applewhite and his followers saw this as their chance to escape the confines of their human containers. The belief was strong, the conviction unwavering. They firmly believed by leaving their earthly bodies behind, they would board a spaceship hidden in the comet's tail. The spaceship, they believed, would transport them to a higher level of existence, far beyond human comprehension. In what was to be a chilling testament to their fate, 39 members in total, including Applewhite himself, prepared to embark on this cosmic journey. They consumed a lethal cocktail of phenobarbital and vodka, lay down to die, each dressed in identical black tracksuits, Nike sneakers, uniform for their final journey. When the police discovered the scene, it was eerily calm. The bodies lay in their bunk beds covered with purple shroud, their faces serene. An air of finality hung over the scene. Chilling tableau of unwavering faith and the tragic end it had led to. The mass suicide event was shocking, a grim testament to the power of belief and the lengths to which people would go to hold on to it. Families were left shattered, loved ones lost to a belief that was as baffling as it was tragic. The world watched in horror, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what had transpired. Thus, Heaven's Gate cult came to a tragic end, leaving behind a trail of anguished, unanswered questions. The echoes of their beliefs still reverberate, a stark reminder of the power of persuasion and the devastating consequences it can have when led astray. In the wake of the tragedy, the world struggled to make sense of the Heaven's Gate cult. The media storm that followed was like a tempest in a teapot, swirling with a mix of horror, intrigue, and disbelief. Every news channel, every newspaper, every online platform echoed with the same question. How could this happen? Public, like a deer caught in the headlights, stood frozen in their tracks, grappling with the harsh reality of this unimaginable event. The reactions were a kaleidoscope of shock, sorrow, anger. People from all walks of life, irrespective of their beliefs, found themselves united in their grief and confusion. The world had witnessed many tragedies, but this was different. This was a tale of manipulation. Lost souls led astray. It was a narrative that left a sour taste in the mouth, a narrative that was hard to swallow. Yet amid the public's shared shock, families of the deceased bore an unimaginable burden. Their grief was amplified by public scrutiny. Their private pain laid bare for the world to see. They were left to mourn their loved ones in the piercing glare of the media spotlight, struggling to reconcile the people they had known with the grim reality of their final act. This disbelief was palpable, as if the nation had been plunged into an icy river of shock. How could these individuals, these ordinary people, have been driven to such an extraordinary end? Questions were many, the answers few, and the truth as elusive as a wisp of smoke in the wind. As the day turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the media's circle began to dwindle. The public's attention shifted, as it often did, the next sensational story. But the family, they were left with an empty void, a haunting echo of what once was, a line to connect with their now deceased loved one. As the dust settled, the Heaven's Gate cult became a dark chapter in our collective history. But this was not a story of triumph, but a grim reminder of the power of persuasion, the fragility of the human mind, and the tragic consequences of blind faith. Heaven's Gate cult serves as a stark reminder of the power of belief and the perils of manipulation. It's a chilling testament to the lengths people can go when ensnared in the web of a charismatic leader who exploits the vulnerabilities of the human mind. The story of Marshal Applewhite and his followers gives us a valuable lesson in the important, critical thing. When we surrender our ability to question, to challenge, to seek, then we are able to become more susceptible to the influence of those who may not have our best interests at heart. The members of Heaven's Gate were not inherently different than the rest of us. They were simply individuals who, in their pursuit of meaning and purpose, fell prey to a distorted reality. Now, this brings us to the second lesson, the dangers of blind faith. Faith in itself is not a negative trait. It can provide comfort, purpose, and a sense of belonging. However, when it underscores the importance of maintaining a balance between faith and reason, between belief and skepticism. Finally, the Heaven's Gate cult highlights the dire need for mental health awareness. Many of the cult members were individuals dealing with feelings of isolation, disillusionment, and a longing for something greater. These emotions, left unaddressed, made them prime target for manipulation, mental health is not a luxury, but a necessity. It's something we must prioritize both for ourselves and those around us. As we remember those that we lost at Heaven's Gates cold, let's strive to understand, to question, and to learn from this dark episode of our past. Let's remember that behind every headline, every shocking news story, these are people with real stories. And let's use these stories, as painful as they may be, to better understand the complexities of the human mind and the importance of safeguarding our mental and emotional well-being. And we end our journey with a tribute to the victim of the Heaven's Gate, lives snuffed out, not by chance, but in the name fathomable belief. To the families of those lost, we extend our deepest condolences. We share in your grief and acknowledge your pain. We can't begin to comprehend the depths of your sorrow, the magnitude of your love. A loss that was not just personal, but also a piece of our shared human story, abruptly and tragically ended. In dealing with such tragic events, understanding and compassion, guiding life, we must strive to learn to comprehend, to prevent the repetition of such a heart-rending incident. For these lives serve as a stark reminder of the profound human cost of manipulation and the unyielding power of belief. Until next time, I'm your host, Doug Duncan, reminding you that once you enter the dark, may never be the same.